first started decorating just daily products? You know, I think people have always decorated things to make them more beautiful. It's just something in our nature that makes us want to make the things that we use more beautiful. I know that, you know, they've found people who are prehistoric man, things that they've used, like very primitive bowls and things that they've used that have got simple decoration on them. Even before our sort of human beings, the previous human beings have been found buried with beads around them. So I think people always want to decorate things, and it's just something inherent in our nature to want to do it. So that you can see, you know, the Egyptians always decorated their pottery and decorated their houses, and you know, the Greeks always had beautiful pottery, you know, decorated. I can show you some examples of that if you want to have a look at some very early examples, but I think almost everything has been decorated right from the earliest of times, because man has always wanted to decorate things. Let me just grab an example in a book and I'll show you some very early. Probably some of these very early Greek examples might give you, some of an idea. You know, the Aegeans, who were, you know, well before, this is BC, 3000 BC, you know, decorated their things really beautifully, and the walls of their houses and things, but particularly their pottery in particular, because we only have the things that remain after a long time that archaeologists dig up are usually things like pottery, because, you know, ceramics lasts a really long time, so we can see the examples of that. Sometimes we can see in the floors and things, but if you're talking about ceramics, then certainly they, you know, the Greeks did these beautiful decorations on all their household equipment. You know, this is something that took, I think this held wine, for instance, but all of these things have all been decorated, all of these shapes, and you can see how fine the decoration is in that. So, you know, from before the birth of Christ, there's always been decoration on, you know, pottery and walls and jewelry and woven into clothes. So, and it's in every single part of the world, you know, so tribes in Africa, Australian Aboriginals decorate things, people throughout Europe, everybody in Asia has always had their own sort of patterns and decoration. And these vary a little bit depending on, you know, where people live and what they do. Is that kind of like when things started? So right from the earliest possible times, there's always been decoration on daily objects. Why did they start? I think people always want to make things more beautiful, want to make their life more beautiful. So I just think it's part of what's in a human being to do that. And it's always been there. Do you think it's necessary to combine art with projects we use every day? I don't think it's necessary to always have decoration on things. Sometimes the most beautiful things are the most simple things, you know, without decoration on them. But the art comes, if you're making something very simple, the art, there's still art in it, because the art is the design and the shape of these very beautiful, simple things. So a lot of the minimalist sort of things that they have today doesn't have a lot of decoration on it, but it certainly is beautifully designed. So it kind of really depends on, you know, what the object, when the object is made, as to how much decoration and art it has on it. So, yeah, I think everything should, you know, if it costs, there's a really good saying that says good design doesn't cost any money. You know, it's coming from in here. So the better the design, you know, whether it's decoration on the outside or the shape of the object that you're making, right? The better the design, then the better the product is. So yeah, I believe that we should think about everything and make everything as beautiful as we possibly can, and that the art of doing that is a very important one. The art of the designer is very important. Why? Just because if we can make beautiful things rather than ugly things, if we can get the best product, then we should make everything as nice as we possibly can. And the role of the designer is very important in that. Sometimes people want to make a product that's cheap, but a cheap product can be a very beautiful product as well. There's no reason why it can't be beautiful. Do you think combining art helps the economy? Yeah, I think it does. I think the economy needs us to be consumers. The way our society is set up today, it needs us to continue to buy. We don't just buy things because we need them. We buy things because we like them, and we buy things because maybe we want the newest thing. And I think the designers are very important in changing designs and making us want to buy new things and more beautiful things. And they're important in changing the fashion as well. So this is considered old-fashioned, this is considered new. Therefore, we want to have something new. We don't always buy a new cup or a new bag because our old bag is worn out, finished. We buy it because we see it as a beautiful thing. So it helps drive the economy, and I think that's because we have a kind of consumer society that it does really, that good, well-designed products encourage people to buy a lot more than maybe they would if they just had something very plain and ordinary, and if everything looked the same. I think the other thing is that design, and I think you're talking more about design than art, aren't you? Good design. I think design is I forgot what I was going to say in terms of the moment. Do I have any suggestions of things to research? Your question is, what's your question? Your question is,
how can art influence our desire to buy?
How can art?
So is design and art like different?
A little bit. Art is kind of like the big thing. So art includes painting and drawing and sculpture and ceramics. Design is a little bit different to that, and you might need to clarify actually where you're going with your research to do that. You might want to look at how does it encourage? Yes, I think I probably have got some good ideas on what you could do with that. Let me think about that a little bit more. If I understand exactly what you're trying to do, how is art encouraging us to buy more? Because that could go a couple of different ways. It could go, does good advertising, good interesting art advertising encourage us to buy things? Does good design encourage us to buy things?
If I were to do something like the Andy Warhol thing, like the Campbell soup, is it more like advertising?
No, because what he's doing is he's doing the reverse. Andy Warhol is taking advertising and making it art. So he's not putting art on advertising, he's saying that what we're doing is we're surrounded, instead of painting things that, is beautiful scenery or people, he's saying what we should be putting into our artworks is our everyday life, our everyday things. And he thought that You know, the Campbell soup can was something that we have in everyday life, so he took something that was a normal everyday object in advertising and made that into fine art. So it's kind of like the reverse of what you're saying, yeah, because he's taken advertising and made it art rather than art making something more desirable. Does that make sense? So I think probably we need to clarify your question a little bit first, and then if I know exactly what you're after, then I can suggest, you know, the way that you